Great.
So it's hard to know where to start with this one. Today's dumpster find is the 1977/2003 film Deathbed, The Bed That Eats. It is the only film made by writer, producer, director George Barry, except for the 2002 remake Deathbed, which is probably also in that dumpster out back. The original Deathbed, The Bed That Eats stars mostly people that went on to do more work behind the camera than in front, or simply left the industry entirely. We do have William Russ, however, whose most well-known work is American History X, or maybe Boy Meets World, depending on who you are. Otherwise, a horror film made in the 70s with actors who mostly quit their acting careers afterwards is usually a sign of a disaster, or a cult masterpiece, again depending on who you are. Couldn't you at least get realistic chewing noises? Are you not a human that chews things?
I've been imprisoned behind my painting in this limbo for 60 years now since my death.
Wait, so Limbo is behind that guy's painting? I mean, a good swift kick would probably get him out. Although for someone who's been dead for 60 years, he looks pretty good. Maybe we all should camp out in Limbo for a while. A couple approaches a house that is clearly not theirs for some reason, and there is laughing, and all of the doors they try to open lock by themselves. Excuse you! So as naturally anyone would do, they plop their greasy food onto the bed and begin making out. Or is that normal and I'm just really picky? I'm sorry, I'd just rather not risk rolling around in my food and getting grease stains all over my clothes and the bed sheets. Believe it or not, I'm a very neat person. Hang on, so the bed has to regurgitate liquid to sink food into it. It floats around in some pee or something, then is regurgitated back on top of the bed, eaten. I'm looking for logic in a sentient bed that eats things, never mind.
Why, I must have made a mistake.
I must have had lunch already and forgot, my bad. Oh my, that's a good time going on in there, isn't it? Oh, maybe not. Yes, we noticed that already. While the bed snores and, moans, the Limbo artist guy explains that thousands have disappeared over decades, and because the bed ate everyone living in the house and anyone that came into the house, most people don't want to go near it anymore. The artist had convinced the bed to then destroy the house and apparently everything in it, except for itself, of course, and the cellar in which the bed now sits. So does that mean the painting with Limbo behind it was also destroyed and the artist is free? No, because reasons. 3 women wanting to get out of the city for a while somehow wind up on the bed's property, estate, acreage?
Susan, I hope you brought some other kind of clothes along. You know we're going to the country, not to a teepee.
No, I didn't, but I brought flowers to brighten up the house, in case it's gloomy from being shut up so long. They think I'm a fool.
Well, yeah. Apparently, the bed cannot move itself, but it can move the door and other things. How? It's an eating bed? Logic doesn't exist. Go on.
This one bothers you for some reason.
Maybe because she's standing on him. Susan decides to take a nap while the other 2 go looking for the main house that no longer exists because the bed that can't move destroyed it and removed all traces of it somehow. I'm sorry, I like logic!
He's making me uncomfortable.
Shut up, Tucker Carlson. The bed begins giving Susan nightmares about eating bugs while it takes the blanket and her pajamas off of her, even though it ate the other 2 just fine blankets and all. Oh shit, sorry. It starts slicing into her neck using her necklace, and it's taking a while, as you would expect, until finally she begins bleeding out of her toes. Toe bone's connected to the foot bone's connected to the ankle bone's connected to the leg bone. No, I'm reasonably sure that the neck is nowhere near the toes in the vast majority of people. Why is blood coming out of the skull? Moving on. For some reason, we decide to review some bed history, like Reverend Fisher Stevens knockoff reading Song of Solomon, of course, and old ladies looking at porn, and then there's the orgies and Teddy bears. Embrace the surrealism aspect of it, Judy. Just embrace it.
This is the stupidest hideout I've ever seen.
What other ludicrous reason can we use to get people onto a bed, asks a screenwriter. It turns out the limbo artist was on the bed at one point, dying of consumption. I'm pretty sure all of these people died of consumption. What, too soon? As the artist lay dying, he drew a picture of the bed, and after the bed ate him, it resurrected him behind the portrait of it because it doesn't like to eat diseased people, I guess? The origin story of the bed is a demon saw a pretty girl once and created a bed to seduce her. He took on a human form, but she died as they were having sex because apparently demon sperm is hazardous to human health. The demon cried tears of blood and flew into a tree while the blood tears possessed the bed and gave it an appetite. The original demon only sleeps every 10 years, and those are the only times the artist can talk beyond the painting. Embrace the nonsense. A bleeding shoe or two later.
My God, that's it. It's that simple. A peculiar similarity of the eyes.
I mean, they both have eyes. Eyes Girl takes the car to town to look for Susan to get help, something.
That place looks clean for having been abandoned so long. I hope there's not a maniac around.
I think the word you're looking for is neat freak. Eyes Girl has car problems, so she begins walking. Meanwhile, Diane, I think her name is Diane, it is now. Diane begins drinking and smoking on the bed, assuring us that if the bed doesn't eat her, she's bound to fall asleep and set herself on fire. She has a dream that Susan tells her she's in a book of dead people, and when Diane takes the book, all the pages are reflective.
I'm in it, and you are too.
Actually, this could have been a kind of cool dream sequence if only it were shot better. I'll allow you half a point for effort, movie. The bed proceeds to eat her. Well, a little bit at least. But then it lets her crawl very slowly all the way across the room, up the stairs, and to the door before pulling her back. Why can't it just do that to pull itself out of the room? Oh, sorry, I forgot. Eyes Girl returns just in time to try to save her, but to no avail because the bed can eat people from underneath as well. Instead of escaping, the one survivor sits in the corner of the room all bummed out. Eyes Girl's brother, who has been sent to find her, does somehow in the middle of this abandoned country estate. He walks in just when a sentient eyeball is rolling around the room and then disappears. I'm just gonna set this on fire right now. They decide to try to get the other woman out of the bed, so Big Brother begins stabbing the bed. Instead, the bed eats his hands off.
Great.
This begins a sequence of Eyes Girl snapping off the rest of the hands and throwing them into the fire, as you do. The demon falls asleep, so the artist talks to the brother and sister and tells them how to perform a ritual to get rid of the demon bed. The girl takes her brother outside and lets him tumble down the side of a dirt mound. Yes, let's get those fresh wrist wounds all dirty. She carves a circle in the floor around the bed, which bleeds because of course it does, then completes the circle with one of her brother's fingers and a strand of hair from the eaten woman. It's at this point that the artist mentions, oh, by the way, you will have to die now so the demon's dead love interest can come back to life and finish the ritual. Zombie Girl has to be naked, of course, and begins kissing or having sex with the brother. It's kind of hard to tell what's going on. And then the bed goes up in flames and the artist is free to go be dead or whatever. The end. So why is this in the dumpster? Deathbed, The Bed That Eats was filmed in 1972, and an answer print was made in 1977. And that was it, until George Barry realized that somehow bootleg copies were floating around and the film had gained a bit of a cult following, leading him to officially release the film in 2003. I'm not saying anything insightful here, I mean, am I ever really saying anything insightful? But this is definitely a niche film. There are varying degrees of bad movie enjoyment. Some people absolutely hate them. While I understand that sentiment, they're definitely missing out on a lot of fun. There are also people who live for the cult classics, the film that deviates so far from the mainstream that they aren't even in the same water system anymore. These people are nuts, but many of them are actually a good kind of a nuts because they know how to appreciate obscure art. And of course, a large number of people fall somewhere in between. There are those who love some cult classic films, but not all, some who just like watching Mystery Science Theater, some who just like watching reviews like mine, though not nearly enough of you, please subscribe. For those of you who love anything cult classic, absolutely track down this film. And it should be pretty easy to do because this film is available on a surprising number of platforms for free. For those of you who fall on some ambiguous part of that cult-loving spectrum, choose wisely. In other words, don't watch this film alone in the middle of a sunny day while sober. When will I learn? If nothing else, at least take some time in your life to appreciate this film's place in cult classic history, while I go shower. For a few reasons. Geez, what is in my hair? This was gonna be like a short video. This was gonna be a really easy shoot. And then cats happened. And it's just rude to interrupt somebody in the bathroom. Yet when they do things like that, you have to wonder what's going on in there. But it's probably better that you don't find out at all. Is that good? Did everything come out all right? All right then.